Let me welcome all of you for anniversary celebration of the Science in Our Lives lecture series, which was introduced a year back during the first wave of the pandemic by none other than our present president, Dr. Lalita Dhaveshwar. Myself, Rita Mukhopadhyay, I am the present vice president of Indian Women Scientists Association. By profession, I have been a biologist, retired from the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, and currently wanting to spend my time doing the science which I did best during my career, and also trying to work in social initiatives with the mandates of Siksha, along with my brilliant faces which Madam was referring to, with the brilliant team of the IWSA scientists which we have. It's indeed a pleasure that today I am introducing this lecture series. And as I said, eminent people have graced the occasion. This is a monthly lecture series. And today we have another eminence within us, Dr. Jayanthi. What is Indian Women Scientists Association's story this far? You see the picture of the building. If I can get the full screen, maybe it is more. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vinny, Suparna, our back end hosts doing this possible for all of us. Here you see the picture of the building, which is our Working Women's Hostel. This came upon this piece of land in the area of Vashi, Navi Mumbai, 40 years ago. And there were no other hostels for working women during that time. So the 12 founder members, upon whose philosophy and upon whose well-guided constitution our institution is working even today, this hostel was created for people who were wanting to visit, the girls who wanted to visit Bombay for their jobs. Until today, we have been able to help each and every woman coming to the city from their faraway lands, their districts of Maharashtra and even all over across India. Very proudly, the whole of the pandemic season, we were having our hostel in the working condition. And today, yes, of course, many of them have been back, but now they are all coming back again, and our hostel is thriving amidst the beautiful garden, which you will see a few pictures shortly. We have 11 branches, and all the branches through the media of this virtual mode were very well connected, and they too are contributing towards the same mandate, which is to carry science forward to the masses in its simplest form and from the work we all do together. Objectives, as you have been seeing this slide coming and going: taking science to the masses, developing the scientific temper. This lecture series is exactly about that, how science affects our lives. It affects, science is all around us. Everything around us is science, and science affects our daily life in manners which we have almost forgotten how they do so. Upon these lectures, we try to nurture and appreciate that what science has done to our lives, the comfort, the health, the progress of medicine, transportation, virtual modes of communication, everything is a contribution of hard work which went in to develop technologies, and that's what science does to our lives. And we want to spread this to others, to be able to live a logical life with scientific thoughts and reasoning. Next one, please. Yes. As a NGO, we have two arms. This is a registered body, apolitical, secular, and non-religious. The two arms of this institution is a community welfare part and a science education part. The community welfare part began as early as our hostel, because there was a need to see how children could be in a safe place when the parents went for work. And that is how the daycare center was established. Soon there was a nursery, Until, of course, in the COVID pandemic situation, all of this is not functional. But over the virtual platforms, we are trying to get in touch. We are keeping in touch with the parents and the children and their welfare. Soon after the daycare nursery, we had begun 25 years ago a course for early child education, and their SNDT College has been collaborating with us to give their diploma degree. And over these 25 years, an average of 20 women aged between 18 to 50 have been able to train in this and become empowered to either begin their own Montessori's or also to join other schools and contribute. When we began, besides this, there is a library which is supported by the state government. We have a healthcare center with state-of-art technologies of a good dental chair, physiotherapy. We have a computer center which is at the 30th year now. So you can imagine how our founders had influenced the following generations who thought of having these techniques way behind when none other NGOs were definitely thinking about having such centers. So our computer center is at the 30th year, and we provide basic education in computers for the underprivileged. The science nurture, if I take your interest to the left part of the slide, science education, the science nurture subcommittee is looking after taking education to the ones who need it the most. And around our premises at Vashi, there are certain municipal schools whose children, a few selected ones, come and used to come, sorry. They are now virtually coming and meeting the students, meeting the teachers like Lalita ji, Shamla, Devaki, and many others who are teaching them one-to-one and helping them improve in their subjects and doing good in the boards. And we have scholarship funds for students. Of course, the more funds we get, the more we can give. But so far, it is doing not too bad. Science and besides this lecture series, which I just introduced, and it's 1 year old today, we have other member enrichment programs, member empowerment programs, wherein our own members talk about their work and their interests. Yes, we can go on and on, but I should stop here by mentioning that we have a beautiful garden which has been nicely manicured at the moment to be able to present itself as a learning garden, because garden embellishes, and the entire science is preserved in a garden. And we are in the making of a living plant museum in the garden, so that visitors can come and enjoy the science and the garden. Both happens in hand. Here you see some slides passing by about the last 11 lectures which happened, and we had eminent people, as I mentioned. Rohini Godbole, almost in a fortnightly manner, we see how her science of the dark matter is bringing accolades to her, and she's a very eminent member of our IWSA. You see Tessie Thomas on the other, very prolific, very model person to drive science and motivate young minds, our ISRO scientist. And today we have Madam Jayanthi. With this, I shall now take leave, and I am going to be your MC today through this session, so I'll keep a watch about the questions which will come up in the chat, and we will take that later. But now I shall invite Dr. Shamla Bharadwaj, our editor, the quarterly newsletter which comes up from our WWS. And Shamla has been a physical chemist by profession, retired from the same employer, Bioatomic Research Center, and personality. And I leave it to Shamla to now take this session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Really, it's my great pleasure to introduce Dr. Jayanthi Narayan to this participants of this Science in Our Life series of lectures. So I have known Dr. Jayanthi Narayan, means I met her about 2 years back and came to know about her work. And ever since that, I have been really wanting to have her lecture in our premises. But that has not been possible because of the distance and some or the other problems. But I thank, means it is better in this pandemic has helped us to have Dr. Jayanthi among us. So this is something good the pandemic has done. So let me just formally introduce Dr. Jayanthi. Dr. Jayanthi Narayan is a special educator. She is currently a visiting professor at the University of Northampton, UK. And she told she retired as Deputy Director of National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities, Government of India. I think earlier it was called National Institute of Mentally Handicapped, right? Yeah. So she, after her graduation from Madras University, she did her post-graduation from the State University of New York, USA, and specialized in education in that is specifically learning disabilities and mental retardation kind of specialization she did in her masters. And then she went on to get her PhD from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar, and also did some additional master in education and so on. So she, I think, ever goes on adding degrees to her credit. And also she received a Fulbright Senior Research Fellowship for the postdoctoral research program at Boston College, Massachusetts, USA. And recently, means in 2018, she was also awarded honorary doctorate by University of Northampton. And Dr. Jayanthi has been a consultant in special and inclusive education. She has visited several countries like Indonesia, Maldives, China, Bhutan, Cambodia, mainly by the program of UNICEF, UNDP, WHO, and other international agencies she was telling us. So she has written several manuals and has research publications in national and international journals of repute, and also she has written several chapters in books and all. So this is her formal introduction. On a personal note, I would like to add that whenever I talk to Dr. Jayanthi, I can, get the passion she has for this subject. She's really very passionate about this inclusive education, and we have lot to know from her. So we look forward to listening to Dr. Jayanthi Narayan today. So Dr. Jayanthi, now the screen is yours.
Thank you. Namaskar. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity you have given me. And it is such a pleasure after looking at your PowerPoint and Rita ji's presentation on IWSA. I really feel honored and privileged to be with you for this coming 1 hour and trying to share information on persons who are marginalized or less fortunate as the rest of the human will spread more persons with disabilities. Awareness is taken far and wide also. So I have this personal selfish motive also in talking to you today, that you are going to take this and spread the word for those who are not yet aware of. Thank you so much for this opportunity given to me. I will try to share the screen, and in case I have a problem, like I discussed with Suparnaji yesterday, she is going to come and help me with that. So I'm just trying to share the screen. Give me a moment on that, please. Thank you. The first thing we need to understand in terms of the development, significant development in the area of disability rehabilitation is that it used to be considered that disability is the problem of the person who has it. The deficit model, the person who has it, so it is his problem that he is disabled. So now it has changed from the limitation in the person to the barriers in the society. Let me give you an example. Let us say there is a meeting happening in the second floor of a building. And here is a gentleman who's using a wheelchair, or a child who's using a wheelchair. He needs to be in the second floor. And this building does not have a lift or a ramp. It only has a staircase. So what prevents this person who's in a wheelchair to participate in the meeting? Is it his disability or is it the building's fault? You see the point here? Or let us say among us there is somebody who is hearing impaired, and we want to be part of this particular program that is going on right now. And I have a visual presented. So the hearing impaired person is also part of our group, and he or she will be able to listen. Suppose I have just been going on talking with no visuals presented. The problem is whose? It is mine and not the person who has a hearing impairment. Similarly, the person who uses a wheelchair, it is not his problem that he is not able to reach the second floor, but it is the problem of the building for not having provided a lift. So that is the current thing. The handicap is made by the society. The disability or impairment can be in a person, but making him or her handicapped is in the society. This is the current thinking and the change that has happened all over the world. Therefore, if you see the public buildings today, they all will be cleared for construction only when there is a ramp, there is a lift with the braille letters also for the floors, and also the talking lift so that the blind person will be able to hear which floor we have reached. So any public building today in our country will have to go on to these what we call as universal design. Why do we do that? Because the problem of making a person handicapped is that of the environment. It is not the person's problem. He or she is another human being like any one of us with equal rights to exercise the rights. They have the entitlement. But if the society is not ready to give them their entitlements, then it becomes a handicap. So that is why even our institute, which was called as National Institute for the Mentally Handicapped, is today known as the handicap word is taken away. It is out of use now, the word handicap. National Institute for the Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disabilities is the term that we use for institute like ours now. Handicap is removed. So this is the first thing we see, the paradigm shift from charity to right. Handicapped people are not there with begging bowls expecting charity, but they have equal rights like any one of us. This is the first major change that has come about in our world over, and India is not lagging behind. In fact, India is doing very well in terms of this disability rehabilitation, that people like us go to the neighboring countries to give training there, you see, because we are doing well. That's the reason why we get called. Next one, please. So disability was not an ignored area. It has always been there, even in the mind of our government. Even when our Constitution of India was framed, Article 45 mentioned that there will be compulsory education for all children. And Article 41 mentioned also that there is a right for persons with disabilities also. When the amendment was made in the Constitution, it said the state will provide compulsory education for all children between the ages of 6 and 14 years in such a manner that the law shall determine. So the all is a key word that gave the right to children with disabilities for education, but they were all not fundamental rights. They were all state directive principles. Therefore, they did not have the if you are denied, you cannot go to court when it is not a fundamental right. And in 2009 came the major change where education became a fundamental right, as you could see. So if today the child is denied education, they can go to court. So this is the 2009 development in our country, may I say. Next one, please. Yeah, so when it comes to the government legislations related to disabilities, there are 4 major ones that we generally refer to for everything, for which there are rules and regulations made for implementation. centrally governed, state implemented legislations. So the Rehabilitation Council of India Act is one that regulates the human resources in the country who work with persons with disabilities. So all of us, like medical doctors have, all of us who work in the field of disability rehabilitation, we all have a license number given by RCI, Rehabilitation Council of India. And when you apply for a job in the area of rehabilitation, they ask for CRR number. If we are not registered with them, we don't get qualified for the job. So registering with them means we should have undergone training programs that are approved by Rehab Council of India, not any course anywhere. Rehab Council approves number of courses that includes B.Ed, D.Ed, speech pathology, audiology, social work, whole number of, if you just go to the website of Rehab Council, you will find a whole lot of Rehab Council approved courses carried out by Rehab Council approved agencies, universities or colleges or NGOs, but they are all approved by Rehab Council with the strict stipulations which are inspected periodically to maintain quality. So this act has brought about a great change in the human resource development in terms of regulating it. The Persons with Disabilities Act 1995 now is replaced by the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, is another important act that gave rights to persons with disabilities. Till then, there were no clear-cut rights. So the 1995 Act covered only 7 disabilities, whereas the 2016 Act covers 21 disabilities. You will see it in a moment. And the third important act is the National Trust Act. So there are 4 disabilities, autism, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, now known as intellectual disability, and multiple disabilities. And these 4 disabilities, how much ever we work with them towards rehabilitation, they will have some extent of dependence on somebody, and that needs to be taken care. The parents raised the question, what after us? So that needed to be answered. So this National Trust has come as an act to give guardianship to persons with these 4 disabilities. And as I told you earlier, the education was made as a fundamental right in 2009. Therefore, you cannot leave out a child with a disability because he is disabled to not to give him education. He has a right to education. These 4 acts are game changers in our country in terms of strengthening persons with disabilities with rights and entitlements. Next one, please, Suparna ji. Yeah, these are the 21 disabilities we have in we have covered by 2016 Act. Please notice that many of them are those for the elderly also, like the Parkinson's disease, right? So some of the neurological conditions. Let me read it out in case it is not that visible for those of you who are seeing in a cell phone. The 21 include blindness, low vision. Blindness and low vision are separated because people who are blind use tactile communication using braille, and their requirements are different. Low vision people can enlarge with proper contrast and read the script like any one of us. So Government of India has made them as 2 different disabilities with different support systems provided to them. Leprosy cure, hearing impairment, locomotor disability, that is hands and legs and spinal cord affected, dwarfism, intellectual disabilities, mental illness, autism spectrum disorders, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, chronic neurological conditions, specific learning disability. This is what includes the dyslexia, dysgraphia, dyscalculia, multiple sclerosis, speech and language disability, thalassemia. 3 blood disorders are there: thalassemia, hemophilia, and sickle cell disease. Multiple disabilities including deaf blindness, acid attack victims, and Parkinson's disease. When you say these 21 are covered by the Act, a person who has any of these disabilities can get himself or herself certified. There is a committee in every government hospital and the district headquarters. When you look in the website of the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, you will be able to see what are all the places where you can get the certificate. Once the person is certified as having any of these disabilities, he or she are entitled for a number of benefits and concessions. If it is elderly person, travel concessions in a big way. There is a pension amount that they tend to receive. And there are other support systems. Taxpayers, tax has a big deduction or no tax in some cases. So there are a lot of benefits that also is given. So visit the website and you will be able to access, if anybody in your family or neighborhood falls into any of these categories, they have to go and first get certified. And once they are certified, they have certain entitlements that they get a card and they will be able to use it. For children with disability school going, we have another set of things that we'll see now, support systems. So Rehab Council, I already told you that it regulates the human resource development. It certifies people like us who are in the field. And the aim of the Rehab Council is to see that the quality standard and uniformity in the training programs in the country is maintained. India is one of the very few countries that has a central register. Even US has a state register, not a central register. But in India, we have Rehab Council in Delhi, and all our numbers registered are with Rehab Council at Delhi. Just visit the rehabcouncil.nic.in. You will be able to get more information on how the council works. And anybody interested to work in the area of disability can probably find programs that are of their interest in the Rehab Council's list of offers that they have. And soon Rehab Council is also planning on some ODL program. Right now we don't have it, but open distance learning program will be offered. So anybody interested can qualify oneself to work with persons with disabilities of their choice. Next one, please, Suparna ji. Yeah. So National Trust, I already told you. National Trust helps to strengthen the family. Those who have no one to look after them, National Trust tries to provide support and also guardianship. Next one, please. Yeah, it provides guardianship and people with these 4 disability, autism, cerebral palsy, mental retardation, multiple disabilities. For them, the National Trust tries to give home when they have nobody to look after them. And every state has a state nodal agency center, and every district has what is called as a local level committee, LLC they call it. So the district level complaints or anything where they have to sort out related to that can go to the district collector is the magistrate. So they can go and appeal, and the LLC will look at it and try to take it through so that the person is supported. Why I'm saying this is, see how up to the micro level our country has planned to support these persons with these 4 disabilities. Next one, please. No. So broadly, we have seen the legislation. So what has it led to? So, okay, we had all these legislation. So what? So what has happened in terms of education is, way back in 1986, we had a national education policy. For the first time, it mentioned disability education, but the efforts were very, very small. But later, the international mandates that you see here as Salamanca Declaration, Dakar Frame, Bioco Millennium, and UNCR, all these are international mandates. I want to drive across this point here that India was part of it all the way through, and whatever were the outcomes of these international mandates, we were one of the first ones to be part of it and implement in our country. It's overwhelming to think a country like ours with such a huge population and so many socio-cultural, economic, linguistic, religious, geographical diversity, this particular aspect of disability related things, we went with the world and we are keeping pace with the world in terms of getting the best for our people. UNCRPD, for instance, United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, India was the 7th country to ratify. Ratification means we will accept anything that is there and change our law to fall in line with the UNCRPD. That is why the Act 1995 was changed to 2016 Act I was telling you earlier. They changed the Act from 1995 Act to 2016 Act by ratifying it to fall in line with, align it with the UNCRPD one, which is the Global Rights of Persons with Disability Convention. So, I mean, you get this feeling of Mera Bharat Mahan when you see all of this, you know, the kind of things that our government has been doing. So, number of special schools came into existence for blind separately, or hearing impaired separately, or intellectual disability separately, started by NGOs in many places. And our national institutes, under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, there are a number of national institutes. I worked in one of them, which is situated in Hyderabad, National Institute for Empowerment of Persons with Intellectual Disability. We have one in Mumbai, that is for the hearing impairment, one in Calcutta, one in Delhi, one in Chennai for multiple disabilities, one in Nirtar is in Cuttack. And all these national institutes particularly focused on human resource development, research and development, and service models for persons with the respective disabilities that they are dealing with. So number of special schools came into existence, supported by the government, and also on their own, NGOs started. Then integrated education, where children with disabilities were prepared and then sent to the mainstream schools to study with other children. Inclusive education is one step further a progress or development that said a child with a disability will go to the school no matter what his disability is. And the school will be prepared to help this child. Integrated education, the child had to be prepared and then sent. Whereas in inclusive education, all children can be enrolled in the school, into the business of the school, to make sure that the child studies in the regular school, and school has to provide with the special educators, aids and equipment, and support systems that is required for the child. So next one, please. So a large number of children with disabilities now are seen in the mainstream schools, and Government of India came up with a scheme called Siksha Abhiyan, that you would have heard, education for all, Siksha Abhiyan, now called Samagra Siksha Abhiyan. So it is a centrally sponsored, state implemented program which has hired a huge number of special educators to work in the regular schools, so that the child with a disability gets the support of the special educator in the regular school environment. Next one, please. Now, what are these disabilities that we are talking about? So we have here, already we have seen, sensory impairment include blindness, low vision, hearing impairment, and deaf blindness. Then we have motor disabilities, such as now India does not have poliomyelitis anywhere newly coming, because all over the world it is seem to have been eradicated. Birth defect, absence of limb by accident or by birth, deformed spine, so all these hands, legs, movement related ones. Intellectual and developmental disabilities, which usually happen from conception during the developmental years. We'll see it in a moment in detail. And we have also seen that RPWD has taken into account 21 disabilities, including blood disorders and mental illness and other neurological conditions. Next one, please. So the developmental disability, when we say developmental disability, it would have occurred to the child between conception and the 18th year. It is up to the 18th year, we are supposed to be developing. After 18 years, there is no development. You have to fully develop. That's the reason why we get the major status, independent bank account, driving license, because 18 we complete to become a full-grown adult. So any of these disabilities, due to various reasons, it could be during, it could be genetic, it could be preconceptional, like a lady becoming pregnant too early in life, like 14, 15 years, or after 30, 40 years, risk factors are high. So preconceptional factors, then during pregnancy, first 3 months are very important, when if the mother has any illness such as jaundice, chickenpox, measles, any of those that can affect the growth of the baby. I had one kid coming to our, a lady coming to our institute. The child was disabled, intellectually disabled. She had a fever. She went to the doctor and she was prescribed antibiotics. At that time, she was not knowing she was going to be pregnant in that cycle of her periods, but she was already pregnant, but she was taking these medicines, then she realized that she was pregnant and the baby was affected. So it's always better to tell the doctor if there is a possibility of pregnancy when they go to the doctor for any illness, so that antibiotics or any medicine that is not good to consume during pregnancy can be avoided. And then attempted abortions can lead to if failed, then it could be a child with a disability. Or during delivery, usually in our country, one of the major reasons is difficult labor and delayed birth cry. Delayed birth cry simply means the child had not started to breathe. The first ee sound is what is the child's first breathing. Till then, the baby was getting oxygen from the mother, and the oxygen is cut off, and the baby's lungs is not yet open to take the air in. And when the baby takes the air in and sends out, that is a cry. That is the best cry. Cry is not so good. It's a feeble cry. You see, when the child has the best birth cry, that means the lungs are open and the child has started to breathe. So doctors normally attend immediately onto the child these days and give the oxygen and make sure that the brain cells are not damaged. That few seconds are enough to damage the brain cells, my dear friends. The few seconds that the child is not breathing, brain doesn't receive oxygen, can damage the brain cells. So the whole life can be affected. And very, very carefully nowadays doctors take efforts. And after delivery, epileptic fits or high fever and meningitis and encephalitis can all cause brain damage, leading to any of the developmental disabilities such as intellectual disability or cerebral palsy, those. So what does it mean? It affects their day-to-day functioning, usually lasts throughout the life of the person, and the training can help them minimize the problem in the child. Next one, please. Yeah. So here you see that this is a normal development. This is something all of us know, but we can also observe. I carry this with me all the time, and wherever, even if I am in a train or bus or something, I hand it over. See that the child follows this developmental pattern. If there is a delay in this pattern, be concerned. It's very, very important that we are concerned when the neck holding doesn't happen. The child is already 5 months old, अब तक गर्दन नहीं बैठा है, 6 महीना हो गया, 8 महीना हो गया, पेट में पलट के लेटा नहीं है. Parents generally say that. These are red flags. We need to be worried about it and immediately take help. Early intervention helps in a big way in minimizing the effect of disability on the person. Next one, please. Yeah, there is something called Apgar score. I'm sure all of you have heard about this. Apgar score is a non-invasive test. As soon as the baby is born, the doctors do. If you see the discharge slip after delivery, you will find the Apgar score. It is a score of 10. And there are 5 things that they see. APGAR stand for A for appearance, P for pulse, G for grimace reflex, A for activity, and R for respiration, APGAR. It incidentally is also the last name of the person who came up with it. Her name is also Apgar ending name. So they look at the baby. If the appearance is not blue or yellow but all pink, then the baby gets 2 marks. And pulse rate should be 100 and above. Yes, the baby gets full marks. And grimace reflex, when you put some cotton in the nose and the child has to have a sneezing face or turn the head to a side, you get full marks for that. And if the child has no reaction, the marks are reduced for that. And activity, bilateral hand-leg movement should be good. You know, one side movement is there, other side movement is not there, marks go down. Respiration, the child is not blue, the child has started to breathe well, full marks the baby gets. So a score of 8 and above, you have a healthy baby there. 5 to 7, you are a little bit worried and follow up the baby for some days to make sure all goes well. And below 5 is a baby that you need to really, really be worried about and follow up for a period of time. So this is done in all the hospitals now. Tell the young ladies who go for delivery to ask for Apgar score and have it noted so that it helps also. Now, normally doctors do, but it is good to be aware of it. And then the chromosomal defects like Down syndrome, for instance. It's a defect in the chromosome. The baby tends to have an additional chromosome in the 21st pair, is the trisomy 21 as they call it. That happens at the moment of conception. So neither the father nor the mother needs to be blamed for it. Many people are guilty about having a child with disability. We need to counsel them to say it's not the fault of you. Okay, it has happened. Let us look at what next rather than blame games. Right, so hydrocephaly is one where there is a lot of water, cerebrospinal fluid accumulates, and early identification and support helps in draining out the water, and the children seem to do well. Microcephaly also, early intervention helps. We won't say that it cures. The developmental disabilities once happen, they are damaging the brain, and you don't revive the dead cells. But then early intervention, because of the neuroplasticity of the brain, the training given early in life tends to help the neighboring cells in the brain learn certain activities of the dead cells, and therefore the effect of the disability is minimized on the child. Next one, please. Yeah, so 80%, 75 to 80% of a baby's brain develops in the first 2 years, 2 to 3 years. So rapid development, at that time if the child is given the right support, as I was telling you, the neuroplasticity helps in reducing the damage. The severity will be much reduced. Though we say that there is no total cure, definitely early intervention helps. Therefore, anyway, if you think, as I was telling you, that child is 1 year old and not started to even sit, or the child, the delay in the milestones that we saw, or the delay in speech, if there is in the child, definitely not waiting. See, many of the elderly people at home say, oh, my son spoke late, that is why his son is also getting delayed in speaking. Never mind, he will talk. Please don't wait like that. Every moment is precious. Tell your friends, get checked. If the doctor says, okay, fine. Otherwise, we have started early so that the effect of it is minimized. This is one message I want to strongly pass on to all of us listeners here. So please pass on the word that if there is any sign of red flag, delay in development, please take the medical support. Next one, please. Another thing that happens with early intervention, the parents develop a positive attitude much early in life and start working. These are all rural grandparents, you see. Grandparents are at home and they think, mera beta ko bhoj ban ke ghar mein baitha hu. Suddenly this child, everything the grandmother starts to do and the mother is relieved of the load, he also feels a purpose in life. The grandfather and grandmother, maximum people coming to us bringing children many a time, saying that they find a purpose, the child is improving, they have all the time to spend with the child, stimulation activities. And this not only rural areas, even in urban areas, you will find that to be true. And the bonding between the grandparents and the child is very superior. You see, the mother has her other non-disabled children, her husband, her other family to look after. And this child is tagged on to the person who's at home feeling I am not useful, suddenly finds a purpose in life. Works beautifully. It is such a beautiful thing you will find. Next one, please. Yeah, this I was working in interior Andhra and Telangana. So we also worked on, this is in Mahbubnagar, neighborhood centers they created where children with and without disabilities can come together and play. So naturally, the children accept those who are a bit different from them. You see, the children without disability easily, spontaneously develop an acceptance rather than waiting for after having developed not so positive attitude, then trying to change. You see, it's always easier to write on a clean slate rather than erase what is written to write on the slate, isn't it? So these are some neighborhood centers, excellent experiment in Mahbubnagar, and they are doing it beautifully, so much so that it is in other parts of the district, state and Andhra also now. May we have the next one, please? So inclusive education has come to stay, as I said. Inclusive education here means children with and without disabilities go to a same school, and the child with a disability is not compromised on his education. What he deserves is given to him. Next one, please. I told you about Samagra Siksha. So earlier it was SISA Abhiyan. Now it is, then it also extended up to class 12. Now it is called Samagra Siksha from kindergarten to class 12. National Education Policy 2020 has come out now as a policy, yet to become a legislation that also has a lot of points positive to support education for all under one roof in a very, very big way. Next one, please. The major focus here is give access to education, increase the enrollment of children with disabilities, and retain children in schools. The enrollment is easy, but retention is very difficult. Make sure that they go to school, they learn. So this has really made a big impact in our regular schools. If you go to the rural primary schools, you will find many of our children, happily children with disabilities, in the regular schools. And also many private schools also have taken this up in a big way and giving support to children with disabilities. It's by law they have to do it. And technology is another thing that has come in a very big way to support children with disabilities. A number of assistive devices, communication technology has grown so big that today we are able to talk to everybody in any part of the world in decision made in seconds. I want to talk now, another 2 minutes I'm talking to the person who's somewhere in Timbuktu also, no, is a possibility. So it's all used to the benefit of our children with disability, as you can see in this picture. Even in India, this is a Western picture, but even our schools, we find that there are a number of those support systems provided. Smart classes are there in many of our schools today. Educational technology based separately for the next slide we'll see that. Can we have the next one? Yeah, a whole lot of see, the first one that you are saying is a handheld gadget on top about 3 inches above the book, and so the print is enlarged and the person is just by moving the handheld material, they will be able to read in the book. Low vision people benefit from it. This one, and also in the second column, second one with the computer monitor that you are finding with the mouse. You see the mouse is moved on the book and then the thing comes on the screen, so a low vision person finds it easy to read. And then you find also a person with the multiple disabilities using technology. And the first row, last one, you are finding the braille. You know, the braille is now converted to text. Yeah, thank you. Braille converted to text, text converted to braille also is a possibility now. And the second column, this first one that you find there called Big Macs, they speak for a person who doesn't speak. They have the recorded, no, first column, I'm sorry, first column, second one. Yeah. The 4 buttons that you find, yeah, red, yellow, yeah. So these are called Big Macs. So they speak, they are recorded speech. So the person who doesn't have speech, who's a person with cerebral palsy, each of the button will have certain message. I am hungry, or I need water to drink, I need to go to the toilet, whatever it is all recorded as per the need of the person, and the person knows which button to press how many times to get which recording out, so that the person in the room hears and comes to help them. So yeah, so then you have this Indian picture there, the same column, the third picture. See, she is in a wheelchair and she is carrying water to her house. She is a contributing member in the family from the public place. She is carrying water. The next picture where you find the hand function is not good. You can scoop and eat with the gadget attached to the spoon. And the one below that, the fork is fixed in such a manner that tilt your hand and you can pick up stuff with fork and direct it to your mouth. So, and the hearing aid on the one side, number of gadgets. These are just very, very few that I'm showing. They are all custom made, suitable to the person's requirement, and they are available. And many of them Government of India supplies free of cost. The wheelchair supplied free of cost, crutches supplied free of cost, calipers, hearing aids, braille, canes, lots of things Government of India under ADIP scheme, the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is supplying free of cost. Yeah, so we have come a long way. Next one, please. And also we have got gazette notification about the education. Next one, please. This notification that we saw just now See this. This is a very, very important, interesting information that we should pass on to people. See, this is a government order. So that says persons with vision, hearing impairment, spasticity, dyslexia, autism, all those covered in 1995 Act, now 2016 Act, you take it. When they have to appear for class 10 examination, one language is compulsory, and then the list given below after my red circle: mathematics, science, social studies, one other language, music, painting, home science, introductory, information technology, commerce. Any of these they can take 4 from this list. One language is only compulsory. They can take any of this listing here, 4 of them, to make the 5 subjects and do the class 10 and class 12 examination. What does this mean? Many, many children are now able to go up to class 10 and beyond because of this relaxation or choice of subjects given. Even children with intellectual disability, they take one language and music and painting and home science, and they are getting a degree now. I mean, sorry, the class 10 examination now. So the 2008, next one please, is a more recent one. Yeah, 2019, it gives the same. I'm not giving the whole government order here. You can just go on the net and download this. You will just get it. Examination concession extended for persons with disabilities, and you will get this. And there is one 2021 also with some amendments. It's not in my slides, but I want you to know that this disability, he can't go beyond primary schools. Never ever think like that. There is a lot of arrangements made in terms of choice of subjects. And when it comes to examination, dear friends, you will see that the blind and one with the dyslexia get a person to write the examination for them. So they can have the person, they can verbally tell, and then the person would write. They are all given extra time to write the examination. State boards also follow it. In one of these universities here, a person who was blind in the university was refused a person. He's called scribe, the person who writes. And he could go to every state has a state commissioner for disabilities, and chief commissioner disabilities sits in Delhi, and every state has a state commissioner with certain judicial powers. So this person who was denied a scribe went to the state commissioner, complained, and state commissioner passed this order that the university will give him the scribe of his choice from the exam the next day, and the first day's exams he has missed will be given to this person on the choice of date by the person with disability. Immediate orders he passed. It was in the newspapers few years back. And therefore, the persons with disability have a voice about their entitlement. All they need to know is that they have to know this is there for me. And that is my appeal to all of you, spread the word. Next one, please. Yeah. And in villages, one other thing they have done, they have formed groups of persons with disabilities. So as a group, when they appeal, even bank loans for them have minimum or no interest loans they are able to get. They are able to appeal to the government and get their needs met. And almost all the villages, we have the persons with disabilities groups, very powerful federations they have, with which they reach out, and they get a lot of people. It was a pleasure for me working in Andhra and Telangana with these people, give them the opportunity. You see, they know so much. I'll give you this example. In one meeting, I was the only person with a pad and a pen. Everybody else was listening, and there was this, the Mahila Mandal head lady, she had all the agenda items of the previous meeting in her mind. She was telling, last time there was this lady who had a miscarriage. After that, she had pregnancy. Is she going to the doctor? Is she getting checked? And I was the only one writing down things. These people were just rattling out from their head, from their memory, all that was happening in the previous meeting. I was feeling like I was handicapped with my memory. Amazing. Give them the opportunity, and they're fantastic, I'm telling you. Next one, please. Yeah, these are the kind of things for livelihood they tend to get. Government helps them buy the cattle, and also weaving. Government gives them subsidized or sometimes no cost material. Next one. Yeah, so all we need to do is make sure no one is marginalized. We don't discriminate people. we should challenge exclusion whenever exclusion happens. Education is everybody's right, enable greater equity, zero rejection, equal opportunities, access to education, no child be left behind. Next one. Why we have difficulty doing this? We have this population that is huge in our country and we are multilingual. Everything needs to be done in many languages. Socio-cultural issues, misconceptions in people. Sometimes you need to do away with their misconceptions. Lack of awareness, and of course, economic issues. Next one. But we have reached, as I narrated to you now, we have from handicap stage to they can also do their best given opportunity stage, we have reached. And like Robert Frost says, we have miles to go before we sleep. It's not that complacency can settle, okay, we have reached somewhere. No, 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 no. We have still a long way to go, much more to achieve. Next one, please. Rabindranath Tagore said this at the time of partition, when India was getting divided, that the issue is not how to wipe out the differences, but to live together with the differences intact. This we use here for disabilities. Now, that though they are different, we can't do away with the disabilities or the differences because of disabilities, but definitely we can live together. Each one being what he or she is, we accept and live together. Next one and the last one, please. Yeah. The highest education is that which does not merely give us information, but makes our life in harmony with all existence. So let us aim for that. And I feel very good having got this opportunity to talk to all of you about our fellow men who are with us. And I'm sure the word will pass on to others also. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a